Good evening, my dear students. The mock test number 10 is going to be explained to you. I think you are all concentrating on the subject and mock test to attend the examination going to be conducted on 10th February. అయితే 10th ఫిబ్రవరి ఎగ్జామ్ డౌట్ అవుతుందేమో అని నేను ప్రజెంట్ ఈరోజు ఒక వీడియో పెట్టాను. అయితే దాని గురించి మీరు సందేహాలు మాని మీ ప్రిపరేషన్లో మీరు ఉండండి. ఎందుకంటే ఎన్పిటిసిఎల్ రాసి ఎలా ఉందో మనకు తెలియదు, కానీ ఎన్పిటిసిఎల్ జేఏఓ కూడా ఆ విధమైన ఇబ్బందికి గురైంది. అది హైకోర్టుకి వెళ్ళిపోయింది ఆఫ్టర్ ఎగ్జామినేషన్. తర్వాత ఎస్పీడీసీఎల్ అప్పుడు కూడా ఆంధ్ర వాళ్ళు మేము కూడా అనర్హులను ఎందుకు చేస్తున్నారని వాళ్ళు కూడా హైకోర్టుకి వెళ్ళారు, కానీ ఎగ్జామినేషన్ ఆగలేదు. కానీ ఈ రోజున ఎన్పిడిసిఎల్ జేపీఓలో కూడా 3000 అప్లికెంట్స్ని రిజెక్ట్ చేయడం జరిగింది. అట్లనే ఏంటంటే బిఏ బీకామ్ బీఎస్సీ వాళ్ళే కాకుండా బీటెక్ క్యాండిడేట్స్ కూడా అప్లై చేశారు. దోస్ వర్ రిజెక్టెడ్. అయితే మమ్మల్ని కూడా అలౌ చేయాలి, అట్లనే బీసీలు ఎస్సీలు ఎస్టీలకి కూడా మార్కుల్లో రిలాక్సేషన్ ఇవ్వాలి అనేది కూడా దాదాపు ఒక 6 పాయింట్లతోటి హైకోర్టుకి వెళ్ళడం జరిగింది. నాకు వాట్సాప్ మెసేజ్ వస్తే నేను కూడా దాన్ని కన్ఫర్మ్ చేసుకోకుండా నేను కన్సర్న్ అఫీషియల్స్ డిపార్ట్మెంట్ ద్వారా ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ సేకరించి మీకు దాన్ని పొద్దున వీడియో ద్వారా ఇవ్వడం జరిగింది. కానీ ఒకటి మాత్రం ఎల్డర్లీ అడ్వైజ్ ఏంటంటే దాని గురించి మీరు డిసప్పాయింట్ కాకండి. ఎగ్జామినేషన్ జరుగుతుందని అనుకునే మీరు తయారు కావడం ప్రయత్నం చేయండి. రీషెడ్యూల్ అవుతుందని కానీ లేకపోతే ఇంకోటి అవుతుందని కానీ ఫీలింగ్ మాత్రం మనసులో పెట్టుకోవడానికి వీల్లేదు. ఎందుకంటే రేపటి రోజున మీ ప్రిపరేషను ఎందుకు పనికి రాకుండా చేసుకోకండి. కాబట్టి ఏంటంటే వీ కాన్సన్ట్రేట్ ఆన్ ది సబ్జెక్ట్. ఎందుకంటే ఇంకా 8 రోజులు ఉంది. కాబట్టి 8 రోజుల్లో మళ్ళీ ఒక్కసారి రివిజన్కి పోతే మీకు ఖచ్చితంగా సరిపోతుంది. తర్వాత రేపు పొద్దున్న ఎస్పీడీసీఎల్ కూడా నోటిఫికేషన్ వస్తుంది అంటున్నారు. సో ఎస్పీడీసీఎల్ నోటిఫికేషన్కి నేను రేపు 4th నుంచి నేను అది స్టార్ట్ చేస్తున్నాను. క్లాసెస్ స్టార్ట్ చేస్తున్నాను. ఆల్రెడీ మీరు జేపీఓ అటెండ్ అవుతున్న వాళ్ళు ఆఫ్టర్ ది ఎగ్జామినేషన్ కన్సల్ట్ చేయండి. ఆఫ్లైన్ అండ్ ఆన్లైన్ క్లాసెస్ విల్ బి దేర్ ఇన్ డిఫరెంట్ వే. ఇప్పుడులా కాకుండా ఒక డిఫరెంట్ వేలో కూడా ఆన్లైన్ క్లాసెస్ ఉంటాయి. తర్వాత ఏంటంటే జేఏఓ క్లాసెస్ కూడా కండక్ట్ చేస్తున్నాం 4th నుంచి. తర్వాత ఏంటంటే ఆల్రెడీ ఎగ్జామినేషన్లో ఉన్న వాళ్ళకి మాత్రం దాని మీదనే కాన్సన్ట్రేషన్ చేయండి, డైవర్ట్ కాకండి. After that you can have a contact with me. So coming to the subject now, the number 1, the expertise of human resource departments became indispensable with the introduction of employment laws and passing of equal employment laws gurinchi. 2, a person employed through a contractor will not be considered as an employee of the establishment. అంటే ఫాల్స్ అని చెప్పారు, కానీ a person employed through a contractor will not be considered as an employee of the establishment. అంటే false and true. So the salary of the judge of high court are charged from which among the following and consolidated fund of the state. దానికి వేరే సెపరేట్గా కన్సాలిడేటెడ్ ఫండ్ ఉంటుంది. విత్ ద from that source the salary of the judge of high court will be paid. 4th, refers to the globalization, refers to the tendency of firms to extend their sales ownership and manufacturing to new market abroad. Globalization అంటే విదేశీ మార్కెటే కదా. 5th, the Workmen Compensation Amendment Act 2000 enhanced the amount of compensation in case of disablement from 90,000 to 1,40,000. 6, most people who are classified as non-traditional workers are independent contractors. 7, are collective agreements legally enforceable? అంటే they are presumed not to be legally enforceable unless the parties agrees otherwise. అసలు కలెక్టివ్ అగ్రిమెంట్ గురించి మాట్లాడే ఏ కలెక్టివ్ అగ్రిమెంట్ ఈజ్ కన్క్లూసివ్లీ presumed not to have been intended by the parties to be a legally enforceable contract unless the agreement is in writing and contains a provision which states that the parties intend the agreement to be a legally enforceable contract. Section 179 ప్రకారం. 8, which of the following is a type of non-traditional worker? contingent workers, part-time workers, people working in alternative work arrangements, people with multiple jobs ni meeku non-traditional workers ga pilavabadtaru. 9th, as per section 18, if an employer discharges or dismisses a woman during or on account of her absence from work during the maternity leave, then what is the punishment faced by an employer? And 3 months or more and will extend to 1 year imprisonment ఉంటుంది. 10th, who among the following appoints a judge in the High Court of Indian State, president with advice of a colleges of judges? 11th, what is the role of human capital manager? Unlearn old skills and acquire new skills. He or she seeks to fine-tune HR policies and practices to fit the culture. This human capital manager role. 12th, which of the following acts are covered by the first schedule to the labor laws 1988? ఇవేమీ కాదు. The Employees State Insurance Act 1948, the Child Labour Prohibition 1986, the Apprentice Act 1961, the Employees Compensation Act 1923. 13. Which of these is the purpose of recruitment? Help in increase the success rate of the selection process by reducing the number of visibly underqualified or overqualified job applicants. 14th, the crutch is mandatory under the Factories Act where 30 women workers are employed. 30. In every factory wherein more than 30 women workers are ordinarily employed, there shall be provided and maintained a suitable room or rooms for the use of children under the age of 6 years of such women. Crutch మాత్రం మెయింటైన్ చేయాలి. 15th, what is the time frame in which the employer shall submit 5 copies of the draft standing orders proposed by him for adoption in his industrial establishment? 6 months from the date on which Standing Orders Act becomes applicable. 16th, the universal adult suffrage is enshrined in which among the following articles? 326. 17th, the poor quality of selection will mean extra cost on ట్రైనింగ్ అండ్ సూపర్విజన్. పూర్తిగా వాడికి అసలు సబ్జెక్ట్ నాలెడ్జ్ లేని వాళ్ళకి సెలక్షన్ చేసి ట్రైనింగ్ ఇస్తే ట్రైనింగ్ కాస్ట్ పెరిగిపోద్ది. తర్వాత 18th, ది వర్క్మెన్స్ కాంపెన్సేషన్ యాక్ట్ 1923, మెటర్నిటీ బెనిఫిట్ యాక్ట్ 1965 అండ్ ది ఎంప్లాయర్ స్టేట్ ఇన్సూరెన్స్ యాక్ట్ 1948. ఇఫ్ ది వర్క్మెన్ కాంపెన్సేషన్ యాక్ట్ అండ్ మెటర్నిటీ బెనిఫిట్ యాక్ట్ ఆర్ అప్లికబుల్, ది ఎంప్లాయర్ స్టేట్ ఇన్సూరెన్స్ యాక్ట్ ఈస్ నాట్ అప్లికబుల్. The Employees Provident Fund Appellate Tribunal, which is constituted under section 7D, is defined under which section? Under 2M. 20. The bill passing rule of 81A has made 2 new institutions for the prevention and settlement of industrial disputes, that is Workmen Committee and Industrial Tribunal. 21. Line manager authorized to direct the work to the subordinates. 22nd, what is the time limit to get information concerning the life and liberty of a person? Ante 48 hours. 23, which criteria might a judge take into account in deciding whether to grant an injunction against a trade union from taking industrial action? Whether there is a serious question to be tried and where the balance of convenience lies. 24, which among the following articles of Constitution of India deals with the prohibition of traffic in human beings? Article 23. 25. Line managers respect the knowledge of human resources managers have in areas such as testing and affirmative action. Consequently, human resource managers can influence line managers through implied authority. Implied authority ఏంటంటే చూడండి, implied authority refers to an agent with the jurisdiction to perform acts which are reasonably necessary to accomplish the purpose of an organization under contract law. Implied authority figures have the ability to make a legally binding contract on behalf of another person or company. 26. If an employer fails to notify to the employment exchange prescribed for the purpose any vacancy, he shall be punishable for the first offence with fine which may extend to 500 and for every subsequent offence with fine which may extend to 1000 rupees. The 27th, which section takes care of payment of undisbursed wages in case of death of employed person? Section 25A. 28th, which of the following responsibilities do human resources manager fulfill in their role as employee advocates? Establish guidelines for how management should be treating employees, provide support for employees contesting unfair practices, represent employees' interest as appropriate. ఇవన్నీ వర్తిస్తాయి దీనికి. 29th, appointment of welfare officer under Factories Act 1940 is compulsory where 500 employees are employed. If there is a willful removal of disregard by the workman of any safety guard or other device which he knew to have been provided for the purpose of securing safety of workmen, employer is not liable to pay compensation. వాడు కావాలని వాంటింగ్లీ నిర్లక్ష్యంగా ఉండి డ్యూటీలో కనుక ఏదైనా అయితే కాంపెన్సేషన్ ఇవ్వడానికి ఎంప్లాయర్ బాధ్యుడు కాదు. 31. Which section of the Act states the conditions for eligibility of benefits? Section 5. 32. Which one of the following is not a constitutional body? Niti Ayog అనేది constitutional body కాదు. The National Institution for Transforming India, also called Niti Ayog, was formed by a resolution of the Union Cabinet of January 1st, 2015. Resolution పాస్ చేసి తయారు చేసినది, అది కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ కాదు. 33. Which section of the Equal Remuneration Act defines same work or work for similar nature? అంటే Section 2H. 34. All of the following are examples of human resource job duties except financial advisor. Financial advisor మాత్రం హ్యూమన్ రిసోర్సెస్ మేనేజ్మెంట్కి సంబంధం లేదు. 35. In Marxist approach, concerns with wage related disputes are secondary. 36. Which of the following acts are not covered by the first schedule to the labor laws 1988? The contract labor, the industrial dispute, the employment exchange, the industrial dispute, the Employees Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provisions Act అనేది కవర్డ్ బై ది ఫస్ట్ షెడ్యూల్ కాదు. 37. The industrial peace is secured through voluntary negotiation and adjudication. 38. Which of these are the most important external factors governing recruitments, supply and demand? 39. Which among the following constitutional amendment bills is known for establishment of administrative tribunals? అంటే 42 Amendment Act. 40. Which section takes care of payment of subsistence allowance in Standing Orders Act? Section 10A. 41. Which section of the Factories Act deals with the appointment of welfare officer? Section 49. 42. While recruiting for non-managerial, supervisory and middle management positions, which external factors of prime importance are labor market? PF Act is applicable to an establishment engaged in any industry specified in Schedule 1. 44. In which year peacock was declared a national bird of India? 1963. 45. Which of the following act deals with recruitment selection? Child Labor Act. Which of the following act deals with recruitment and selection? Child Labor Act, the Apprenticeship Act, the Mines Act. 46. Which of the following legislations was based on the recommendations of the BP Adharkar Committee? Employees State Insurance Act 1948. In March 1943, BP Adharkar was appointed by the Government of India to create a report on the health insurance scheme for industrial workers. The report became the basis for the Employment States Insurance Act 1948. 47. How many stages does the recruitment process comprise? 5. 48. The Factories Act 1948 requires the appointment of the safety officer in factories employing at least 1000 workers. 49. Rearrange the following steps of recruitment. First, planning, strategy development, searching, screening, evaluation and control. Rearrange the following steps of recruitment ki arrangement adi. Tarvata 50, an employers are obliged to provide information to trade unions representative for collective bargaining purpose. Yes. Are employers obliged to provide information to trade unions representative for collective bargaining purpose? Yes. If it is information that the employee representatives need to carry on collective bargaining. 51. The higher court issued a writ to a lower court, preventing it from exceeding its jurisdiction. This is referred to as prohibition. The action of forwarding something, especially by law. 52. Which of the following are decisions to be made while devising the strategies to hire? Geographic distribution of labor markets comprising job seekers, make or buy employees, sequencing the activities in the recruitment process. 53. Which of the following is not included under the definition of wages given under the Payment of Wages Act? Ante gratuity. So gratuity ante gratuity is a sum of money paid by an employer to an employee for services rendered in the company. However, gratuity is paid only to employees who complete 5 or more years within the company. It can be understood as a form of tip paid by the employer to the employee for services offered to the company. 5 years continuous service చేయాలి, అక్కడే చేస్తే మాత్రమే గ్రాట్యుటీ ఉంటుంది. 54. While working at the construction of a multi-storied building of a company, a worker employed by a contractor supplied by a sardar faced an accident and became temporarily disabled. For paying compensation to the worker, who shall be held responsible as per law? The contractor who employed the worker. 55. The Bhopal gas tragedy led to an amendment under which of the following legislations? Factories Act. 56. Which principle of management is violated by the matrix organization structure? Unity of command. A matrix organizational structure is a company structure in which the reporting relationships are set up as a grid or matrix rather than in the traditional hierarchy. In other words, employees have dual reporting relationship, generally to both a functional manager and a product manager. 57. What is the amount of medical bonus entitled to one who is also entitled to receive maternity benefit? 3,500. Choose the correct objective of the Industrial Disputes Act. To prevent illegal strikes, to promote measures for securing and preserving good relations between the employers and employees, to provide relief to workmen in matters of layoffs, retrenchment, wrongful dismissals. 59. Demand forecasting is the process of estimating the quantity and quality of people required to meet future needs of the organization. Demand forecasting is a systematic process that involves anticipating the demand for the product and services of an organization in future under a set of controllable and competitive forces. 60th. The term appropriate government is defined in which section of the PF Act? Section 2A. 61. In which year the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act was enacted? 2005. The Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005 is an act of the Parliament of India enacted to protect women from domestic violence. It was brought into force by the Indian government from 26 October 2006. The act provides for the first time in Indian law a definition of domestic violence, with this definition being broad and including not only physical violence but also other forms of violence such as emotional, verbal, sexual and economic abuse. It is a civil law meant primarily for protection orders and not meant to penalize criminally. The act does not extend to Jammu and Kashmir, which has its own laws and which enacted in 2010 the Jammu and Kashmir Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2010. 62. Which of the below given options are the forecasting techniques used? Delphi technique. The Delphi method is a forecasting process framework based on the result of several rounds of questionnaires sent to a panel of experts. Several rounds of questionnaires are sent out and the anonymous responses are aggregated and shared with the group after each round. 63. As per section 111 of the Act, if any worker employed in a factory contravenes any provision of this Act, it shall be punishable with a fine which may extend to 500 rupees. 64. The Labour Laws 1980 extend to whole of India. 65. Which section of the Equal Remuneration Act says about the duty of employer to pay equal remuneration to men and women workers for same work or work of similar under section 4. So by this we came to an end of mock test number 10. Good day.